Right on.
Check.
Hey everyone, welcome to Did That Age Well? I'm your host, Molly Smith, and today I'm just so excited. I got my new friend Geoff Tice here. Welcome to the pod.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my
I'm
God,
very
thank you
excited
for
to be
being here. So I know that we were just talking off mic about how much you hate your Geoff joke, your Geoff with a G joke, but I do have to tell you that you're not the first Geoff to be on this podcast, but you are the first Geoff.
Oh,
Geoff.
good. Yep.
And what I told my other friend Jeff, and that I'm going to tell you as well, is that when I was in kindergarten, I thought the name Jeff was so cool. I was like, that's a cool ass name. And there was a kid in fourth grade at my bus stop. His name was Jeff, and I made up a little song. The refrain goes like, "Hey Jeff, hey Jeff," and I got the whole bus singing it like every day. And so that's how I want to welcome you to this pod.
Thank you so
with
much.
A little "Hey Jeff."
Did he like it, or was
yeah,
he like,
he
I'm
loved it.
being bullied?
So I was a bully at 5 years
yeah.
old, actually. I think he liked it.
That's great.
Jeff from Fort Collins, if you remember that, reach out.
Yeah. Did it age well? Did
Did
it
Hey
age well?
Jeff age well?
I feel like it did.
Oh my God, I think it did.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. I love the premise, and I'm excited
Thank you.
because more often than not, when someone's like, "Hey, you have homework for a podcast," I'm like, that's great. I'm not doing the podcast.
Yeah, of course.
This ended up being perfect because it was
Yeah.
so much fun. Great experience. I'm very excited to talk about it.
Oh my God. Well, I'm so excited too. I also really enjoyed the homework for this podcast. I found that, I don't know, like so many things from 2009 came flooding back.
Yeah.
You said that you were in college when this came out, right?
Yeah.
So like, what's your relationship to I Love You, Man?
So to really backpedal on just my life in general, I grew up in Australia, and so one, we didn't have like American media in like the sense of, it was very slow getting to us. Then I also grew up pretty religious, and it was very sheltered from a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so through middle school and into high school, I felt like I needed to catch up.
Yeah.
And so I started just ingesting everything, but I didn't have the greatest taste. It just was kind of like, I don't know what is good.
Anything that you can get your hands on.
That's what it was.
Yeah, of
and
course.
so by the time I was in college, I was like still kind of in that mode of like anything that comes out, anything that's funny, anything that like is in like the pop culture zeitgeist, I'll think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really have a good opinion or taste of what was good or not. So my relationship with that was like, I loved it. I thought it was like the best movie at the time, even though I'm like a college guy and it's like this kind of semi rom-com vibe. I still was like, loved it. Perfect. Awesome. So I had very good memories of it. And then when I rewatched it in my head, I was rooting for it so bad because I didn't want it to be like, dude, do they like really blow it in this movie? And so that was it. That I had very positive thoughts about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad it was okay.
I'm so glad too. I'm really glad for us. I really thought like my expectations were kind of low because I hadn't seen it in so long.
Yeah.
And rewatching it, I mean, not to spoil the whole question of the podcast, but I really had a lot of fun rewatching it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of stuff that I was like, wow.
Oh, surprising.
Oh, okay.
The first moment I was like, oh no, are we going to go off the rails?
Right.
Was Andy Samberg's character, who is the gay son, who happens to be the best friend, and or they portray him as the straighter of the two, even though he's openly gay. Yeah. And I was like, oh, awesome. I was like, I hope they don't blow it. I was like, I don't remember
like,
how this goes.
Fuck this up.
And they didn't. It was so
and they
good.
didn't.
Yeah.
And this movie was because 2009, I think, no surprise to anyone, gay representation in media was a little limited. Yeah. This movie was nominated for a GLAAD Media Award.
Oh, that's amazing.
Simply because there was a gay man represented who wasn't just a stereotype and was not a punchline. Yeah. And I'm like, that's great.
And he was, I mean, it's Andy Samberg. So funny.
So funny.
But the cast of like having, I can't remember his name. It's Officer Dangle.
J.K. Simmons?
No, him, but him, like just being like a dad.
Yeah,
like he's the dad. But he goes when Paul Rudd goes on the date with It's the guy from Reno
Oh,
911.
the guy,
It's like Lennon, Paul
Yeah.
Lennon, Tom
The-
Lennon. Either way,
He's
like even him, I'm just
so
like,
funny.
he's just a side character, and I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, so funny. Like
So
everyone
funny.
does so great.
Yeah.
And the other part that I found myself, the big shift in perspective that I had from college to now is so much life has happened to me. Obviously, between that, I've been married for over 10 years. I have a daughter now. It went from like, oh, this is a hilarious, goofy, like funny, like a lot of quips, to the most relatable character to me
Yeah.
is Jon Favreau. Where I was like, oh my God, like I'm not that guy, but I see myself the most in him, where it's like he's just been married for way too long.
Yeah.
They talk so candidly. They clearly are in love, but they just are like, shut up.
Yeah.
Like that's like the most real part of the relationship. And then also when he's dealing with Paul Rudd, he's just like, nah, man, I don't have time for new friends. Like I'm not like, you're not playing poker with us.
No more.
Exactly. And so that's how I felt the most. I was like, this makes me so happy to just be like, he's the dick. But I was kind of like, I don't know, man, that's the most
You're
relatable.
like, I kind of get it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I liked him a lot.
I liked him a lot too. I like all of the side characters, really. I think the only one that I sort of felt a little bit weird about was the desperate single friend. Like I kind of wanted to just see like a single friend who was
Haley, I think
normal and like not desperate. You know, they kind of had like, I mean, I understand they had like the foil of the married woman who like hates her husband kind of, and then like the single friend who's like desperate, but I still just wanted to see like, okay, well, you know, can we just have like a normal single person? She doesn't have to be like this thirsty all the time.
That and like that leads to the next part of the movie that I forgot was she did such a good job. Paul Rudd did it at a elite level of awkwardness. Like when when Jason Segel they're being introduced to the single friend and it is like she's so cartoonishly thirsty that you're like, oh, this hurts so bad.
It hurts.
It's so bad. So much of that movie, I forgot the cringe level that they just manufactured. I was like, it's
the
so good.
The voicemail. Oh God. See you, or what he says, see you then, or see you on another time.
It's like, I still want to hang out.
I'm having a hard time figuring out if you're going to be there or not. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. What I think, so to take a couple steps back, I think the thing that I like the most about this movie is that it approaches a couple of subjects that I don't really think we see a lot in TV, and that's friendship breakups.
Yep.
And just like, I think especially for men, like it's just hard to make friends as an adult.
Totally.
Is it hard? It's hard to make friends, right?
100%.
Do you feel like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a very outgoing person. I'm very personable. I like being friendly with people. And even then, I don't have like that many people that I would just be like, oh, let's just go hang. Like,
right.
And I didn't even stand up. I run into a bunch of people that I've known for a decade. Yeah. And we still are just kind of like, hey, what's up? Like it's that kind of,
right.
You know, I recently went to, it's so funny because right before I watched the movie, the night before, I went to a Nuggets game with my best friend from high school and then my other friend from high school and college and his wife and then my wife. We were driving home and it was just, we were laughing because I was like, it's so easy to be around them. Like you have friends that you are friends with later in life and you don't have the like being familiar with literally every aspect of their life. Like the friends that I was with, I know their parents. I slept over at their house. I know their sisters or brothers or whatever. And then I have friends who I've made like friends with later in life. Yeah. And there is a layer of, it's not professionalism, but it feels like it. Yeah. Like it does feel like a layer of like frosted glass of like, I don't know what you were like when you were little. Yeah. And I don't have the ability to, and it's not like, you know, you're off the rails or out of bounds with your friends that you grew up with. Right. You just know where all the lines are.
Yeah, because you've crossed them all over the past like 35 years or whatever.
Yeah, and they knew you when you were awful. It's like when you were 13.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like 13-year-old boys in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
We all were trash.
Awful.
And so,
yeah,
having that back catalog of experiences with people, I forgot that I take it for granted.
Yeah.
That I'm so lucky that I still have friends like that I'm just like, oh, it's so easy. Like,
yes.
we can sit and like literally just watch a Nuggets game in silence and have the best time.
Have the best time. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. So it sounds like it was not hard for you to fill out your wedding party.
No.
You didn't have to go scrape the bottom of the barrel for the groomsmen?
No, we had to make
great.
cuts, actually. It was
Oh,
fun.
my God.
Also, my wife has 4 brothers, and so we had
okay.
to, like, I wanted to make sure, and I'm very close with all of them.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, my wife and I have been together since we're 17.
Yeah.
So so I know her family, so, like, they are my family. And so, 4 of the brothers, so 4 spots right there, and then my brother, and then my 2 best friends. So we're already, like, pushing,
that's
like,
already
6 or 7.
That's already a lot.
Yeah, I think I got to, like,
close.
9.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're like a sorority girl
I
out
know,
there with
yeah.
a full,
my
you got
wife,
a full band.
Yeah, my wife was like, I put the pressure on her. It was like flip-flop. She was like,
Sure.
I don't have this many to fill out. She's like, there's
Right.
no way. And she obviously did, but
She
was
found
like
a girl from the gym
know,
and a girl
yeah.
who she
Lou
accidentally went on a
Ferrigno.
date with. Yeah.
She got Lou Ferrigno to show up.
Yeah.
That was the funniest part. Like, that made me laugh too. Like,
Yeah.
where there's so much tension from him and Lou Ferrigno selling the house throughout the whole movie. And then I'm like, such a silly, funny way to incorporate him, just put him in the wedding party. Like,
so funny.
so dumb and like perfect.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved when they got the weird cast of characters back together for the wedding party.
Yeah.
Like, at that point, I don't know. I think obviously it makes sense why people want to fill out both sides of the wedding party evenly. You know, it's cleaner, visually looks better.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, God, you don't even talk to that bitch. Why are they here?
It's like, we know what you've said about her. We know that you don't. Like, yeah, exactly. It is like a visual weight thing. You're like, I just need. Yeah, the wedding. This is obviously since it's a part of the movie, but wedding parties are always so wild to me because it's optics,
right?
And it's like, I need this to be perfect. But when you involve friends and a tight group versus a whatever, it gets really messy. Obviously, that's not like a new take, but we recently had friends who had a wedding. We didn't go to it, but they had, I think, 13 bridesmaids and like, I think 13 on each side. I think they did keep it even, but it might have been more. It was absurd.
That is absurd.
It was absurd.
How big was the wedding?
I don't think it was even that big.
Oh my God. Half the wedding was up there.
Yeah. So
that's wild. That's too much.
It was crazy. But.
Listeners, if you're getting married and you have more than, okay, what number should we say is like the max that you should have? Let's create a rule.
Personally,
now.
I think the rule is 6.
Okay.
And that might be too low.
6.
But I think it's 6.
Okay.
6?
I think 7 is like pushing it.
Yeah.
Like 6 is like a good solid number.
Yeah.
7 is like, okay. Like, if you have 4 brothers, then you need to include them all, obviously. Unless, any of them are estranged, and then they're not even invited. And it doesn't matter. Yeah. But it is interesting thinking about the ratio with like the number of wedding guests too.
Yeah.
So if you have a wedding that's like 100 people and you have 26 of them up
Isn't that
there.
Crazy?
That's
Isn't that
crazy.
So
All right.
Mormon. Anyway, cut that
Anyway,
out. But
Mormons, we love you. Thanks
Yeah.
for listening. Shout out. This is the kind of content that I think you should be listening to. So thank you.
This is nice. Yeah,
this is nice. Okay, so I have a fun fact to share with you about this movie. Are you ready?
I'm excited. I also have a fun fact.
Oh my God, great.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so one thing that did not age well to the family of President Anwar Sadat.
This
was
is
that
my
your
fun
fact?
fact.
A lawsuit.
Incredible.
A lawsuit because they looked exactly alike, according to
The joke.
The joke.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's what made me laugh so hard about that was, so that joke really stood out to me because I was like, that is such a weird, quirky joke that doesn't fit with the movie.
Not at all.
Like at all. Like the tone of the movie is it's not geopolitical. Like Egyptian president jokes.
Yeah.
I was like, weird. And that's like super up my alley. I was like, that's like my
Right.
favorite joke in the movie.
Yeah.
I was laughing. I was like, dude, it's so weird that made it in. Like my
Right.
first thought was like,
Yeah.
I can't believe that made it in. And then, because I'm sure they did like Jacob and I, shout out to Jacob just off camera.
Shout out Jacob.
We were talking about last night about the movie where it's like a Judd Apatow where it's like, it's probably just a bunch of takes to be like, they probably did that joke 50 million different ways.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's what made it into the movie, and then it caused issues with Anwar Sadat and like the government of Egypt, because it says, in Islam that's like it's like an unclean animal, and it actually is like a very derogatory, which is it makes sense, obviously.
Sure, yeah, we're not saying they shouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
It's just cultural differences.
Yeah, and the fact that like that's. It's just crazy that that's in the movie. Like, it makes me laugh.
It makes me think like, okay, there was somebody who thought, oh, it's so funny when dogs look like they're people. What did they call that again in the movie?
He had a word.
Bowsers.
Bowsers. And then he's like, what does that mean? He goes, it's just a word I made up.
Yeah, totally. But it does sound, he's right. It does just sound correct. It sounds like what it is.
You buy it. You go, okay.
Exactly. Yeah, Bowsers, people who look like they're dogs. But that was like, somebody thought of that and they were like, that's a funny joke, but I have nowhere else to like use it. And so they were like, all right, well, let's put it in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Here's my fun fact, which I'm sure you saw if it was on the Wikipedia. This isn't a fun fact, but this was something that made me laugh about. So going back to like the way I remember that movie. So this is like kind of two parts. The payoff isn't as fun as I think it'll be, but rewatching it, there's so many lines from that movie that completely overtook pop culture and still are a part of like pop culture lexicon that like I like Totes My Goats.
Totes My Goats. I forgot that was from this movie.
That's exactly.
When he said that, I was like,
wife.
wait.
Yeah,
this is the origin of Totes My Goats.
Yeah. And so Totes My Goats, and then there was one other one that he says that I was like, oh, I forgot that's from here.
Yeah.
So many of those awkward, dumb little like Broheims things, like Broheim, really stood out to me. That I forgot how much it seeped into culture at the time. And then the other part that made me laugh, because to me, like, I don't know, maybe it comes from like I am an easy movie critic most of the time. Like I saw a tweet the other day, this isn't mine, but it was like, I'm an easy movie critic. It's like, did you like the movie or did you get to have popcorn and soda? It was like, is that why? And I was like, that's kind of why I like movies. I'm like, honestly, it was a fun experience.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I digest movies. And so I remember being like, yeah, it was great. Like, it was awesome. I think everyone thought it was awesome. There's no way anyone thought that movie was like bad, right? Like, it's just whatever. And then critical response made me laugh.
I actually didn't read through the critical response.
Oh, good. The critical response is great because it literally is just like talking about, Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes and whatever. It's like 6.9 out of 10, like fine, whatever. The one that made it into Wikipedia, which made me laugh, is the film was not without its critics. Peter Rainier of the Christian Science Monitor was not impressed with the film.
Oh, famously.
Famous Peter from the Christian Science Monitor. I was like, oh, great. Like Roger Ebert of the Christian Science Monitor fame. And after noting that the character Sydney, first of all, I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be Andy Samberg. It's like, nope, it's Sydney. See, this is the wildest critic. So Christian Science Monitor, I was like, clearly they have issue with like the undertones and like the way that they position like the LGBTQ plus community.
Sure.
Nope. After noting that the character Sydney seemed to be written for Owen Wilson.
That was the critique.
That's what he was upset about. And that made it into the critique. And he goes, Rainier remarked, maybe Wilson was busy. Lucky him.
Ooh,
and
what
then
a zinger.
I was like, got him, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that hard-hitting Monitor journalistic integrity from...
God.
Yeah, very
from the
funny.
Christian Science Monitor, famously. Yeah. You know what? I think that Wikipedia must have some sort of standards where when they go through a movie's the critical response section, they have to include something positive and negative.
Totally.
I'm sure that line, the movie was not without its critics, though. I'm sure that's like a...
It has to.
They have to do
this
that.
guy, Peter, was upset.
Peter.
And
Shout out Peter.
And then the Colorado Daily,
Oh,
another
shout out Colorado.
bastion of journalism in the country, described the relationship between the male leads as, quote, watered down false bromance.
Wow, false bromance.
I love that he was like, the integrity of this relationship is not up to par, like what I want it to be. Noting that the pace of their relationship seemed, quote, rushed, and that Peter was looking out for his wife rather than his best friend.
Wow.
I was like, okay, man, hilarious take.
That is wild. But we know that this man rushes relationships. He got engaged after dating this woman for 8 months.
Yeah, crazy. And I love that this guy at the Colorado Daily is like, they're moving a little too fast for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
These
it's a little
boys are
too fast.
Yeah.
It's a little too fast. It's not believable. I cannot suspend disbelief for the pace of this relationship.
Yeah.
Look, he never had a friend before. He was so excited.
No, that's the
and
premise.
haven't you ever met a friend where you were like, you are my fucking guy.
Yeah.
You are my guy. You are my person. You are my kick it friend. Yeah. I have like a small circle of like kick it girls.
Yeah.
Like the girls who I just like, if I'm like going to run errands and I don't want to do it alone, or if I'm like, you know, whatever.
Yep.
If I'm going to the Venice boardwalk in my Uggs and shorts, you know, whatever, like the person that you hit up. When you meet those people, at least for me, I just want to spend all my time with them.
100%.
When you meet a new friend, it's like, oh my God, it's so special.
It's great.
You just want to hang out all the time. It's like having a crush.
Yeah, and
it's the best.
I love the turn in the movie where it does get real because it is very much of like life happening, but where he is like the fun, happy-go-lucky friend, and then it does turn into like we've all experienced it in certain degrees of like, where are my friends going? And everyone's just like, oh, I have my family, I have my girlfriend, I have my career, and then you start to just be like, damn, and then. Like going back to talking about my friends at the Nuggets game, like that's how, and I think it's relatable. That's how we have to hang out now. We have to put it on a calendar.
Of course.
3 weeks in, like the stress that it gave me of Jason Segel or Sydney just calling and being like, hey, what are you doing tonight? In my head, I'm just like, oh, never You're like, in a million years could I pull that off.
Someone stopping by your work and saying, you want to go to lunch right now?
Oh my God. Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
It's not in Outlook. It's not in Google. It's not happening.
No, it sounds so nice, but just my personality, my life, there's just no possible way.
I mean, you also have like a little 18-month-old.
I do. Yeah.
So
She's
fun.
chilling. Yeah.
Oh, love that. My niece is also 18 months.
It's the best.
It's the best. They're so cool. Kids. Shout out to kids.
Children. Watch this. Every 18-month-old needs to watch this podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. You know what? There's one thing about this movie that doesn't age well. Not picking up your dog poop.
I mean, that's
criminal.
That's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah, insane.
I did not have any sympathy for that man when he was like, oh, people are so, it's good for the compost. No, it's not. Mm-hmm. You're a monster. I turned on Sydney in that moment. I said he was aspirational before because, he presents himself as like the coolest guy. Like he's so cool with women. He's so cool with everybody. He like doesn't give a fuck what anyone thinks. Yeah. And then he let his dog shit in the middle of the Venice boardwalk.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, it really, it's funny how, I don't know if it has become even more unlikable. Like, I don't remember the feeling in 2009 of like, whoa, that's like crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like, talking about not aging well, it has become so much more unacceptable for that. Like, you're like, dude, that is insane. Like, that's insane.
That's like, that is incomprehensible.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so, and then also the payoff isn't as much as you want it. Like he then does like, he's like, we're just humans. We're, he like screams at him and freaks out. And then later in the movie, it's like the big guy and they like run away. And I was like, that's not a big enough consequence for what you're doing.
What you're doing. Jail.
Yeah.
Right to jail.
Jail. The movie's over.
Yeah. Movie's over. Sydney had to go to jail. He couldn't make the wedding.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's 100%.
I love that.
Okay. One other thing that I guess, so actually one thing that I think maybe doesn't age as well is just the whole man cave. I'm sorry, but no women allowed in the man cave. This was was this the beginning of the man cave too? I kind of like, I can't remember. I mean, I think we'd have to go through the archive of HGTV. Like, when did the man cave originate? But this whole like boys clubhouse, I'm just like, enough.
Yeah.
Enough.
Man caves are so dorky. Like, they're just dorky. Like, totally stems from, oh, my wife gives me my own space. Like
yeah.
that, you're like, cool, man. Like,
yeah, good for you. And also, Sydney is a single man.
That's the other
his
part.
whole house is a man cave.
It's exactly
Why does
right.
he need it?
Exactly. And so I understand having your own space inside, whatever. But like,
of course.
But yeah, the idea, and it is so cartoonishly like, yeah, the man cave, like, dude, no chicks allowed, bro.
Yeah.
Like, that's so.
Can't have a woman in here.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. It also, there is a lot of like a lot of thread in that movie that is kind of that vibe. It is like, and it obviously is based on it. It's like male relationships, like there's trouble with like how men deal with each other. And so like they clearly heightened those relationships to like a Hollywood movie level, but it does get kind of silly where like the poker night with like the boys.
Oh yeah.
And then it works well for the jokes, but it is like unrealistic where like, they're having a nice moment when he goes over to Jon Favreau's house to like talk to her, and they're having like, they're kind of making up, and then the buddy walks by and he like burps. He's like, sorry. I'm like, funny timing, but like also like, come on, it's very silly. It's not that like it takes you out of it, but
but it is like,
oh
yeah, this is like a cartoonish movie.
Yeah, there is like a few moments like that crush as the joke, but it is a stylistic choice. Where the other one that made me laugh, where when he goes on the date with, I'm just gonna keep calling the guy from Reno 911.
Because I can't remember his name either.
Yeah, and he's like, then they're getting their tuxes for the he like runs into him, and
oh my god, that was
he's
so funny.
like, you take someone out on a date and then you never call them back. And then they're out at the Grove walking around, and they give each other a hug, and then he like walks by. He's like, "You're a whore, Peter," and I was like, perfect. It's like perfect. I was like, so dumb, so perfect.
But I also loved it.
It's great,
and I feel like it was also kind of cathartic. Like, haven't we all wanted to? I mean, you and your wife have been together since you were 17, but for the listener, I hope you relate to this feeling of like, wouldn't we all love to run into that person who ghosted us and say, "You're a whore"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I run into someone, I'm like, hey, remember in 5th period in high school? That's how far back we have to go.
Snubbed me.
Lunatic.
Yeah.
That's not great.
Oh yeah, and then also when they're screaming under the bridge, and he's like, "Now gently remove your tampon and try again." I was like, "Oh, we're in 2009."
Tough one. Yeah. Hit it with your purse, like that vibe. It's like, all right,
it's like okay.
Yeah.
But honestly, for the most part, I was actually really impressed with the way that this movie showed like the way that people navigate boundaries in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Like, this movie really does explore like healthy relationships.
Yeah.
Like the scene where after the disastrous dinner where Sydney is like, give him more blowjobs, basically. Give it back.
Yeah.
Give
Return
it
the
back.
favor.
Return the favor. And they're in the car and they're talking about like the things that are okay to talk about with their friends and the things that are not okay, and the way that Sydney sort of like pushes his boundaries for like talking about just like more taboo stuff. I don't know. I was like, wow, these people are actually communicating in a way that seems mature.
Totally. Yeah. That was fascinating. I related with the Sydney. I love the perspective of Sydney just being like, because that is relatable as a guy, just with your boys and your friends that you've grown up with. Like, when you do have that background, it really is like anything goes. Whatever we talk about is fine. And then to have someone like we've all met people like Paul Rudd who are like, oh no, I don't talk about that.
Like, why would you? That's private. Yeah. Why would you ask that?
And then also coming from the stand-up world, like stand-up comedians on top of that are even more to like the next degree of open and like oversharing. And so to me that was relatable. And then like I understand the feeling of Paul Rudd, but part of me was kind of like, come on, man. Like,
I know.
Relax.
I know. I was like, all right, relax.
Like, I guess. But I also love that Rashida Jones is doing that with her friends. Like,
exactly.
It's like he's the outlier in that he just is a little too uptight about it. But it's a nice way, like the explosion of oversharing across all of the relationships in the movie gets to a threshold, and then they have to be like in that moment of like, let's dial this back. Like we can't just be running around telling everyone everything about everything all the time.
Yeah.
Which is a nice moment. It's a really nice like, oh yeah, this is, this relationship matters just as much as the friendship matters.
Yeah.
And setting those boundaries. And then again, talking about the breakup of when Paul Rudd has to break up with Sydney or Jason Segel, it's very, they just do it in a nice mature way. It's a nice, like, and then the line that stood out to me too, when I was like, oh, that's funny that's how they're perceiving this. He's like, just call him. And he's like, guys don't do that.
Yeah.
Guys don't call and just like make up. And I was like, oh, funny, interesting.
Yeah. Which I thought also was funny because I'm like, well, they've just been calling each other this whole time, right? I'm like, that part to me was wild when they were just like, calling each other, leaving each other voicemails. I mean, I know it was 2009. Yeah. Texting was not
Here's a question for you.
Easy. All right,
do you call your friends and talk to them on the phone, like just out of nowhere?
I feel like my friends from out of town, a lot. Yeah. But my friends who live here, not as much.
Yeah.
I have one friend who almost always prefers to call over text.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like a quick question. We love her. Gab. Shout out friend
Gab.
Of
Stop
the pod.
calling, Gab.
Gab. No, we do love her. And honestly, sometimes it is easier when you're like, okay, I'll just take 2 minutes to figure out the plan now rather than like throughout the day we're texting each other back and forth. But, honestly, the people who I talk on the phone with most are my mom and dad and my friends who don't live here.
Got it. Nice. Yeah, I asked that question because my buddy brought it up the other day. He was like, stand-up comedians seem to call each other a lot because we will call each other and run jokes by each other and like, premises or whatever. And I thought about it. I have like 2 friends that I like, guy friends that I call just to be like, what are you doing? What's up?
Yeah.
Like, and then I didn't realize that is pretty rare, I think.
Yeah.
Where people are like, oh, you're a psychopath. Like if someone ever called me just like, what's up? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I'd be like, what do you need?
What do you need? What are you doing? Like, what's up? Like, what do you need?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Oh, okay. Also, sorry, Clinton. Love you. I call my boyfriend to talk to him. Like, if we're like not hanging out.
That's not bad.
Yeah. That's like normal, right? To like talk on the phone. Yeah. Like, if we're not hanging out and he's like on his way home from work, he'll just be like, hey, here's all the gossip.
Do you guys
work.
live together?
No, we don't live together.
That's very. Yeah. To me, that would be like weird if you didn't.
Right. To be like, what the fuck does he want?
Ugh,
Psycho.
God damn, he's off work again. You're already just like an old like, married couple. You're like, God damn it.
What does he need now?
Yeah, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? No, that's. I think I'm trying to think about the. Like early on in our relationship when we were younger, we would call. We also did long distance for a while, so we would obviously
really?
call. We went to 2 different colleges for at least 2 years, and then now it's so. That's why I think the Jon Favreau is the most relatable part of this movie, is because we don't talk to each other like that. Like we obviously don't communicate like aggressively at all. But what we do is very much like. You're just on the same wavelength. Like that's what I liked about them is like they were the same. It was an understood like we're gonna be mad at each other. We're gonna fight. Your friends suck. I hate your friends. They're fine actually. You still are like she wasn't. What I liked was, poker night's still happening. Right. She's annoyed by it, but she's also just like, why can't you just do this? And he's like, no. Right. And he's like, why don't you do this? And he's like, no. Yeah. And it's like they had weird boundaries in a good, healthy way, but like the way he conveyed it was so hostile.
Yeah.
But then like the undertone of then like the sexual tension of like clearly they like are like lunatics in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed that about it. But all that to say, cutting back to just the way my wife and I communicate over the years.
Yeah.
And do we call each other? Now it is way more. We text a ton, but we used to just call like on our commute home and like just be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Nothing, chilling, cool. And it was just like a recap of the day.
Yeah.
We don't do that much anymore, mostly because if we are, then just like the baby is like, either like, it's like attention span.
Right.
But I think we have had a lot of healthy, just sitting on the phone. Over the years, like I like it. I like talking to people on the phone, which is increasingly. I like talking to some people on the phone.
Yeah. This is not an invitation to call Jeff. We're not going to put
Gab,
his number.
don't call me.
We're not putting Jeff's number in the show notes. Don't call him. Yeah. Unless I feel like the people who can call you, they know who they
100%.
Right?
Honestly, most people can call me. It's fine, but
yeah. But if you're an enemy of the pod,
enemy
don't
of
call.
the pod.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, the I don't play sports with women thing. Again, it was kind of like eye roll.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that one is interesting too, because like they also chose the most stereotypical sport to like anti-women sport, the very like golf, like women, girls, don't want to be on the golf course with women, like, which is again very funny to my life. My wife is so much better at golf than I am. She was on the golf team. She's a great golfer. So, like we go golfing and she just annihilates me.
Absolutely.
And so
it's embarrassing.
I talk to like dudes and they're like, dude, that must be awesome. I'm like, it's great.
Yeah.
I love golfing with my wife. She loves golfing more than I like golfing. And so people are like, dude, that's crazy, because it does go back to that classic, like, dude, the ball and chain wants to come golfing. Like this is my nightmare. Like that's another quote that people like say like from that scene, and it's true. It's like,
but it also was nightmarish.
Yeah.
Like him getting that welt on his leg was so funny.
Yeah, the one that doesn't stupid, also the moment that doesn't hold up too, where like it is kind of, it's like patronizing, where Rashida Jones hits the ball and everyone's like, that actually was good.
Yeah, they're like, oh my
like,
god,
all right,
she was good. Oh my god, the visors though were so funny. I know that they weren't supposed to be funny. Maybe they were. I don't know, but that was really funny.
The other, sorry to cut you off. The other character that I love, 100%, I guess he does hold up, is Tevin.
Fucking Tevin.
Just how
HR nightmare.
Exactly. Like
HR nightmare.
They crushed like real estate guy. Like he's just real estate guy.
Yeah, he is the pee on my face at a urinal. Watching porn at work.
Yes. Yeah.
Like fucking real estate guy.
Where it's like super tan, frosted tips.
Oh,
like
the
he obviously
tips.
is a cartoon, but he's so funny. Like he crushes.
He's so funny.
Yeah.
And like it's different, I think, than like some of Sydney's little bits of misogyny, like just the little hints of it. Like it's different with him, with Tevin, because he's like such a cartoon. He's so exaggerated, and we're not supposed to like this guy. Every time he walks in the room, we're like, oh my god,
he is the like, oh god, I roll.
Yeah, totally.
Snake, like, and he's he's creepy. He's also the like kind of like Snake. He's just like sliding in on the deal. His whole angle is trying to make money off of Paul Rudd. So exactly, he is unlikable, and so it's nice that. I think it's a great differentiation between Sydney having those moments where you're kind of like, oh, you're supposed to be like the likable,
like the cool one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And then and at the expense of just kind of like, like women are dumb, like that. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where those jokes happen. And then Tevin is the embodiment of I'm a psychopath. Which is.
Which is so funny. I mean, I loved him. I thought that like the real estate advertisement thing was so funny. Yeah, it was classic. I loved it. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, but also like to the directors and the screenwriters' credit, I thought that Sydney, even in spite of these like little things that didn't age well, I still at the end of the movie was like so thrilled when they were friends again. I was so thrilled that he was on his way to the wedding. Like there was so much sweetness and like genuine care in their relationship that other than the dog poop thing, which is still enemy behavior.
Just domestic terrorism.
Yeah, that's way worse than the misogyny is the dog poop thing. That's a terror to society. Like I still loved him. Yeah.
I think the wrap up, and it is like a, I guess, is it rom-com technically?
I don't know. That's such a good question. I was kind of trying to pinpoint like what is the genre, because it's sort of it has the vibe of the Apatow, like I don't know, sort of like bro movies, but also it has the sweetness and the friendship, love, and like, at the end it ends in a wedding.
That's kind of what I mean, like that feeling of like, this is how it just ended how you exactly what you thought it would and how it should, and it was all happy and loving, and like there's really no moment, like even the the guy that didn't get called back, he's in the wedding party,
right?
Like it's like
so
very
funny.
silly wrap up in a fun way that's just not reality. And that's great. That's what I want.
That's why we watch movies.
Like that. Exactly. Yeah.
Duh, if we wanted to see reality, we watch a documentary.
Exactly.
Yeah. Duh. I thought that, I wonder who this movie was really made for.
Yeah. I think me in college.
Probably you.
I think me in 2009. I think, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw this when I was, so in 2009, I was in ninth grade. So I remember seeing it and thinking like, oh, this is really raunchy.
Age flex. Got it.
Wow.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
keep
I'm
going.
young. Can't you tell? I feel like at 14, as like a 14-year-old girl, I was kind of like, ew, what's squirting?
Oh, I know.
Ugh,
Yeah,
that's so gross, you know? But also I remember enjoying it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Was it made for all of us?
Is that the type of movie that you would have watched? Like, what type of movie did you grow up on? Like, is this like in the lane? Are you like a rom-com person? Are you a horror person? Like, what is this anywhere in like the vein of what you would seek out?
Yeah, I would say that it kind of is, because I grew up really on like rom-coms.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it did feel like very familiar territory. Like the structure of the story and like the vibe and kind of the over-the-topness of it and the disconnection from reality, but also some of these little themes that like really get you in the heart. It felt familiar and it felt good in that way. But I think that if you had asked me at that time, like, is this the kind of movie that you would normally watch? I'd be like, no, this is a boy movie. Because like the main characters are boys.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. And it's a little more irreverent. And
exactly.
Interesting.
But watching it now, I was like, I don't know. I can't believe that I thought that this movie was so like, clutch my pearls, you know?
Well, like I was watching it thinking, and it clearly is like, it happened with Superbad. Have you done Superbad on the podcast?
Yeah.
What was the verdict?
I felt like it didn't age well.
That's
I
hilarious.
was like, and a lot of people still really love it. People are like, oh, I love that movie. And, you know, there are some parts of it that are so fucking funny.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I was like, this is not as good as I remember. That was one of the strongest, like, oh, I thought I loved this, and it is not that funny anymore to me.
So that's what I was wondering, because like Superbad, I think, is one of those movies. I don't know if that came out before or after this movie.
I think the same year. I'm pretty sure it came out in 2009, maybe 2008.
Yeah. Superbad is one of those movies that like it's a turning point in I think just comedy movies and just pop culture in general. In that it pushed it so far in the way that it shifted people's way of writing movies, ingesting comedy, and making comedy, that this movie was close enough to Superbad that shift hadn't happened. Because like it's so funny how far we've come. Like imagine watching like I Think You Should Leave in 2009. Like with Tim Robinson. Like that would be. It was basically like Tim and Eric awesome show. Like those. I think the collective comedy conscious of the world has shifted so to an absurdist level that we've taken all these steps, and it started with movies like this where we look now and we go so tame. The jokes are not crazy. The joke, like the structure is very like Hollywood and whatever. And then you go to like a Superbad, and then you cut to like obviously like alt shows happening at the same time, like a lot of like Tim and Eric and whatever. And then you cut to, you know, things that shifted the way people look at comedy and what is pushing the line in the envelope. And then now you look at irreverent comedies, and like I watched No Hard Feelings the other day with Jennifer Lawrence. And I'm like, any of those jokes that they do in that movie in 2009, people would be like, yo, like this is not okay.
They'd be like, that crossed a line.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just, I think people's line has shifted so far. For better or worse, but
and it's not just the irreverence. I think it's the cringe.
Like, that part.
Oh my god, like this movie is so cringy and it's so funny. But I wonder, like, I can't really remember when I first saw this if I felt like, oh my god, this is too cringy, I'm way too uncomfortable. But like, imagine showing I Think You Should Leave to someone in 2009, like that cringe. I think that like the Paul Rudd voicemail walked so that like the hat in Tim Robinson could run. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah. The cringe level, I found myself pausing it because I was like, while I was working, and I just was like, I can't deal with the awkwardness. I
Yeah.
was like, it really, like those types of movies, I just forgot that it was that awkward.
Right.
And I just was like, oh, it made my heart swell. I was like, holy shit.
I feel like it
this
almost
crazy.
sorry to interrupt you. I just like I'm feeling really amped up about this. I think that part of the reason that this movie feels so cringy and why I had such like a visceral reaction is because like it's not totally absurdist.
Yeah.
And so like when I watch I Think You Should Leave, like it's really cringy, but it's not real life.
Yeah.
This movie, the way that he leaves a voicemail, the way that he calls him Jobin, all of the like little awkward things do feel so close to reality.
It's such a crazy version. It's the perfect version of it's so relatable. Everyone has had that, like, how are you? You too. Like that like, have a good flight. You too. You're like, God damn it.
Like,
you're like, oh,
God.
they're working. Like, it's that feeling to the nth degree.
Yes.
And it hurts. It hurts so bad.
It hurts. But it's also so funny.
I love it.
Yeah, we love it. We hate it. We love it. Overall, I would say final verdict. I think it aged pretty well.
Aged pretty well. Would you have a scale? Do you say like it's a 8 out of 10?
I mean, we can today. We can start that today.
What would you say?
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it a 7 or 8.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
Perfect.
7.5. We'll split the
7.5.
difference. 7.5.
Unless you're part of the Christian Science Monitor, which is a 2.5.
2.5. They have higher standards there.
They thought Owen Wilson should have been
absolutely.
Such
which
a
also
take.
I don't agree.
Yeah.
I absolutely disagree.
No, I think this is a whole nother conversation, but Jason Segel is like built for movies exactly like this. Like
exactly like this.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's taken this long for me to say. I do love him and Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Their chemistry together is what makes this movie what
Have
it
you
is.
done Forgetting Sarah Marshall on the pod?
I love that movie.
It's the best.
That one I would say that was a 9.5 out of 10.
It holds up minus the actors. They've all had problems except for Jason Segel. Jonah Hill turned out to be a monster.
Ooh.
Russell Brand is a lunatic.
Oh my God, yeah. That's like
Mila Kunis is doing all right. She hasn't done anything crazy, I don't think.
Mila Kunis, please.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that's not true. That's not true. She and Ashton Kutcher, remember the video?
Mm-hmm. Yep. In front
Never
of the barn.
Never mind.
That's what I'm saying. So taking the personal lives out of the thing.
Yeah.
If the content holds up. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm glad that one holds up because I have not. I've probably seen that movie 400 times.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. And so in my head, I'm like, I don't think it's too crazy, but
no, I think it's really funny still.
Yeah.
Anyway, what would you give this movie out of 10 as far as how it holds up?
7.9.
Oh.
I think so. Yeah, I think truly. And also maybe it's just because it's a guy's perspective. I really like, you catch those moments of like, you're like, oh yeah, that joke isn't really, it's fine. But like, I would say probably an 8. Like, it's fine. Like, it didn't. Yeah. None of it. There wasn't any moment where I was like, "Oh my God!" Like, fully. And I was fully prepared for that because of Andy Samberg's character. Yeah. I was like, "They're gonna blow it."
I was like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, exactly. Like, immediately, you're just like, "There's no way they handle this correctly," and it was great.
It was great.
It was awesome.
And the fondness between J.K. Simmons and Andy Samberg's character when he's like, and my other best friend is him.
Hank Mardukas.
It was so
Hank
funny.
Mardukas. I was like, so funny.
I was like, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, J.K. Simmons was such a get for them. They really
he crushed it.
Love that for them.
It's perfect.
Do you want to play a game?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So this game, I call it Almost Movie Trivia. This is where I come up with a trivia theme based on something loosely inspired by the movie.
Incredible. I love trivia. My wife and I watch Jeopardy every single night. It's the oldest person thing I've ever said in my life, but
I love that.
It's the best.
That's adorable.
I'm going to be bad at this.
Love that for you guys. No, that's okay. I mean, these questions are not really designed to set you up for success. Perfect. They're just silly.
Are these like, gotcha, you're canceled questions?
We'll see.
We'll find out.
I mean, you could say anything.
What's your opinion on? You're like, oh, all right.
Yeah, we're just going to rapid fire as many controversial questions as possible. And you have no time to explain yourself.
Perfect. Yeah, then we're going to edit around it and make it seem even worse.
Perfect. Yeah. I'll put it on social media. But here's the thing is that like you'll still go viral because people will hate watch it and they'll share it and say, "Can you believe this guy?"
Any press is good press.
Oh, that's
unless you're being super bigoted.
Unless you're Mila Kunis, Russell Brand, Jonah Hill.
True.
But Mila Kunis, I mean, we even forgot about her for 5 seconds. Anyway. Okay. Question number 1.
hear it.
Oh, I didn't even tell you the theme.
That's fine.
The theme is friendship breakups in Hollywood.
Oh, got it. Okay.
All right. So question number 1. When interviewed by Vanity Fair, what did Adam McKay say about his friendship breakup with Will Ferrell after and their subsequent split of the production company?
Yeah.
Option A.
Oh.
He's a dick. Option B. There was emotional infidelity, if that makes sense. Or C. It ended not well.
I would say B. B is probably the way. I want it to be B, but I think C is probably the answer. I'm going with C. C, final answer.
Correct.
Oh,
C.
nice.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
C is correct. I think that I could see Adam McKay saying any of these things. Well,
Yes.
obviously I could. I wrote these.
Yeah.
But yeah, it ended not well is probably one of my favorite ways to describe the way something could end.
Yeah.
Not well.
Which is funny because that was like super messy.
So messy.
So the fact that he just, especially Vanity Fair, you're probably just like, whatever, man, I'm not talking about it.
Right, yeah. He's like, well, oops.
Oops.
Okay, question number 2. Who said this about her continued feud with Taylor Swift? I'm going to read you a quote, and then I'm going to give you a few options. I'm going to give you a few 2 options, actually, of who said this. Okay.
Can I guess before? We can
Yes,
still go
you
through
can.
Katy Perry.
Okay, yeah, that's correct.
Let's go. I nailed it.
Do you want to hear the quote?
Yeah, I
anyway?
do. I really do. I'm so bummed that I knew that.
Oh
I'm
my
so bummed that
god.
I knew
No,
that.
I'm happy that you knew it.
Yeah.
Quote, I mean, I'm not Buddha. Things irritate me. I wish that I could turn the other cheek every single time, but I'm not a pushover, you know? Especially when someone tries to assassinate my character with little girls. That's so messed up.
Assassinate my character with little girls.
Yeah,
Very funny.
totally. I'm not Buddha.
I'm not
Things
Buddha.
irritate me.
Yeah. Sorry I ruined that for you. I
No, you ruined it for yourself.
feel
It's
like
okay.
I'm winning. I'm winning. If I know the answer before you even ask a question.
Oh my God. If you know the answer to this question,
Okay.
you're going to have the strongest record of almost
yeah.
movie trivia, perhaps in the history of this podcast.
Mila Kunis.
Katy Perry.
Every time.
Question number 3. Why, allegedly, did Gwyneth Paltrow and Madonna break up? A. Gwyneth recommended her personal trainer to Madonna, and Madonna started working with that trainer and then later fired her, which made Gwyneth really mad.
Got it.
B. Gwyneth claims Madonna punched her in a blackout, but Madonna claims never happened. Or C. Gwyneth overheard Madonna talking shit about Coldplay's music when Gwyneth was still with Chris Martin.
Man. As unstable as all of them sound, I'm guessing it's A.
It is.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Jeff,
I was crushing it,
congratulations. You are the reigning champion of
go.
the stupidest game in the
It is
history of podcasts.
I don't feel good about it. I'm cheering myself on in a very sad way.
Oh, I'm really happy for you, honestly. Thank you for humoring me playing that little game. It's
That
one of
was
my
the
favorite
best.
things to do. Our final segment today is what we call cancel or callback.
Great.
This is where listeners send us trends from the past, and you and I have to decide if they should be canceled forever or if we need to call them back.
Yeah.
We have been
The Vietnam War. You're like, well, yeah.
peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, you're like, let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. We have another 3 hours, right? Okay, cancel or callback. Marvin's Magic Drawing Board. Do you remember Marvin's Magic Drawing Board?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Sorry, I have
That's okay.
weird blind spots because of Australia.
Yeah, you guys had different
we didn't have a
different
drawing
stuff.
board. We just had a snake cruising around in our yard. Yeah,
Just
for sure.
tarantulas and crazy
It
stuff.
sounds familiar, but I have no idea.
There were these infomercials and I guess you could call them infomercials. They were just a longer form commercial where you would call the 1-800 number, but they were still slotted in between in children's programming.
Oh, got
this
it.
magic drawing board, which basically you draw on it and it looks like rainbow, and then you can just wipe it away. Sort of like an Etch-a-Sketch,
Yep,
but
yep.
to the next
I know
level.
exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
And I swear to God that had our entire generation in America, in a chokehold. And I wanted a Marvin's Magic Drawing Board so bad. And now looking back, I'm like, that was the stupidest thing.
It's just good marketing.
It's Anyway, so
Did you have one?
no, I never got
Oh,
one.
you never got one.
Never got one.
Did it also? It was just a texture color underneath, as you drew
Yeah.
it. It wasn't like a pre-rendered drawing.
No, it
wasn't like gaslighting these kids into being like, you're actually good.
Wow,
It's
you're
like,
so good.
Oh my god.
No, it was like it was like you would like apply the pressure of this like pen, and then it would come up like rainbow.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So
pretty cool.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was I might be forgetting elements of why this drawing board was so magic, but I think that we don't need it anymore. We don't
get it out of here.
Get it out of here. If you have a Marvin's Magic drawing board, maybe you could try selling it on eBay.
Yep.
Maybe you could still, I mean, is it an antique? How long does it take for something to become an antique?
Take it out. I want to see the Magic board on Antique Roadshow, and they're just
Me
like,
too.
this is $35.
Yeah, this is the family heirloom.
Yeah.
But only if it has a picture like pre-drawn on it, and then in a dramatic flash on Antiques Roadshow, you wipe it away.
It's gone. And it's like, my mom drew this for me, and she died.
And she died.
Now
Anyway,
it's
so
worth less.
yeah, so cancel it. Cancel Marvin's Magic drawing board.
Yep.
Whoever sent that in, thank you. Forgot to write down who it was, but we love you.
Shout out Gab.
Shout out Gab. I'll give you a call after this. Geoff, thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you have any final thoughts about this movie, loose ends, and or things that you want to promote?
Oh, promote
Yourself.
No, the loose ends, honestly, I enjoyed watching it. I probably will go another 15 years before I watch it again.
Really? I think I'll go a shorter period of time before I watch it again.
I might actually, my wife was like, she's like, I kind of want to watch it, so maybe it will be sooner than that.
Yeah.
But very funny. I think the awkwardness is what my biggest takeaway was. I forgot how awkward and in the best way, how wonderfully performed and good. Like, it was just great comedy, very funny.
Yeah.
So it was a really pleasant experience. I'm glad that it held up and it wasn't insane. And then promotion. I have an album coming out called Jokes with a G.
Yay!
We're just working on the special over here at the Dude IDK Studio. So look out for that. That comes out. That's going to drop on May 19th.
How exciting.
Or sorry, May 17th. May 17th.
Cool.
The special will come out, and you'll be able to pre-order it April 19th is the day you'll be able to pre-order the album. So that's nice. And then if you have a child, tell them I say what up. No, that's not the promotion. The promotion is
if you have a child, tell them I've got some candy. If they want any,
in a van.
Yeah.
No, I have a children's book that I wrote and illustrated
So cool.
for my daughter. It's called The 11 Evelyns. That's my daughter's name. It's available on Amazon. I wrote and illustrated, wrote every word, drew every picture.
That is so cool.
It's a very cool children's book.
my
So
God.
if you have a kid, know a kid. Don't be like, I know a kid. Like, that's not for you.
I know a kid.
Yeah. If you have nieces, nephews,
Aww.
it's fun. It's very, it's lighthearted. It's an actual
Yeah.
kid's book. It's not like, and there's some dick jokes in there. Like, it is for kids. And
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That's so funny that you say that, because I have my boss at work, actually, he did a similar thing where he wrote a children's book about his daughter's name is Ramona, and he wrote this book called Ramonas That Rock, and it was just like cool Ramonas throughout
awesome.
history.
That's great.
That's so cool.
Yeah, this one's the 11 Evelyns. She wakes up every day and wants to be a different thing, and so she turns into that thing every day and experiences that day as that thing, and then I want my daughter to know that she can be whatever she wants to be, and she can do whatever she wants to do. Hopefully it holds up.
God, I hope so. We'll see.
So we'll see.
Wow. Shout out to Evelyn.
Yeah, Evelyn rules.
She's so cool.
She's the best.
Love that kid. I know that kid.
Yeah, that kid rules.
That kid totally rules. Cool. Where can people pre-order your special?
You'll be able to find it on blondemedicine.com is where to go. Blondemedicine.com on April 19th is the day you will be able to pre-order the album, and then it'll be available on YouTube on May 17th. So
Fabulous.
check
All
it
right,
out.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Yeah,
I had a
this was so
blast.
fun. Yeah, come back soon, okay?
I will.
All right, bye.
Shout out Mila Kunis.